I'm a Lego inventor, and today I'm gonna show you level 1 versus level 100 Lego tricks. Starting with level 1, which is overlapping your bricks. First, let's test just building a wall using 2x4 bricks without any overlapping, see how that does. You can see here, this is an example of a fragile wall, where since nothing's really connected together, even if we add some pieces on top, you can see it's not very strong. Whereas if we rebuild this wall and we actually overlap each of the 2x4 bricks by half of its width, in this case 2 studs, and we do that all the way to the top, we'll be creating what's called a running bond pattern. That'll actually provide stability all the way across. Alright, here we go. That's a lot stronger. The next trick is building spheres out of Lego, which are typically square. There's this really cool way to do this where if you take a few of these, what we call super Erlings, which is just basically a snot brick with studs on all sides, and then you basically take a 4x4 plate and build a few plates on top of it to kind of round it out. Then on the back side of this, you want to put 4 of your super Erlings. You can put them however you want, as long as both studs are kind of facing out, like this. You're gonna end up needing to build 6 of these 4x4 plates total, and then what we're gonna do is just kind of sandwich them together to make our sphere. And then our final piece just snaps right on top like that. Make sure you kind of squeeze the side so it doesn't explode. And there, as you can see, we have a Lego sphere built out of square pieces. There's several other ways you can do this technique. For example, I built a dinner plate using the same technique of just sort of creating a round pixelated shape, kind of going in with the studs as I get closer. And as you can see, this is pretty sturdy as well. You can also build different sizes of spheres. This one's actually built by TD Bricks. You can even use that same technique to create a box and then kind of round it out with some slopes and tiles. This is actually supposed to be like a little explosive, so when you drop it, this next one's pretty cool because you can actually take old grayed Lego pieces and use them to create a color gradient. As you see here, we have 2 types of gray. This one is light gray, so it's actually an old variation of gray Lego used to make. And this one is light bluish gray. Then over here you can see we have white and slightly yellowed white because this one's been left in the sun too long. It does allow us to create gradients inside our builds if we just kind of stack these up in order. You can see we can get just a little bit of color variation just using the same types of pieces, which is convenient if you're building like an old landscape or anything. You can kind of play around with it and integrate your old, dirty, used pieces into your builds. And there's several different ways you can do this. I've created a few more gradients using different shades of green, different shades of yellow to red, and then blue to dark blue. So that's kind of cool. On to the next one. There's also a few tricks for using a brick separator. The first one is this little axle on top, which you can actually use if you can't pull out the blue Technic pins because they're too tight in there. You just stick that in the back of your Technic piece and pop it out like that. And that makes it easier. Pretty simple, but if you didn't know, that's why that's on there. Another trick you can do with brick separators is if you have 2 of the old versions, here's like the difference between the new and the old ones. The old versions actually have a bit of a different shape. So if you have 2 plates that are stuck together, you can take 2 of these and you squeeze them together. There we go, just like that. Next one. This is another cool trick, which is actually using this flexible Lego bar piece. What you can do with these is bend them, and this is actually legal, so it won't kind of break the piece. As you can see, it's meant to be flexible. So what you can do is take a bunch of these little clip pieces with these plates on the sides and connect a ton of these to this in a line, and then you can put tiles or bricks or whatever on top of that, and it'll actually create a curved surface. So check it out. Now we have a bunch of connection points, and we can put whatever we want on these. Like, for example, we can add a bunch of tiles to make a wavy brick road. Check it out, that's kind of a cool curved shape. We can also rotate all these around and make a bit of an arch. It just kind of allows us a bit more flexibility in our building so that we can kind of break away from all the square blocky shapes. You can also take some brown tiles and make it look like a rickety old wooden bridge. That's one bridge I would not want to walk across. It's actually kind of a fun technique. Check it out, guys. When I designed this table, I actually built in a hidden feature. If you go over to here to this little hole, you can actually just scoop your pieces into it. And there you go. Simple way to clean your desk. One of my favorite Lego tricks when building Technic is actually being able to build things at 90-degree angles from each other. Because as you can see, with Technic, if you use pins, you can connect stuff side to side really easy. But when you want to put stuff kind of like this and make that connection, not the easiest thing. So there's a special type of Lego piece, which is actually called a 90-degree doohickey, at least that's what I call it. And basically, it has a pin on one side and a hole on the other. So you can put whatever type of pin you want in there. Which means, if we load this guy up with a few of our little 90-degree doohickeys, we can stick a few pins in there and easily make our 90-degree connection, just like this. Boom. And I've used this in so many projects. Literally, I even use them in my Lego turret. This guy here utilizes them in several places. I use them to make all the connections for the turret nozzle right here. And down here to connect the legs so the hinge, I use 2 of them connected together to create sort of a double jointed hinge. Overall, it's a very versatile Lego piece. I love using them in all the Technic builds. I even use them in the barrel of my cannon to build a square shape when we tested the siege weapons. Very useful piece and super helpful technique. Okay, this trick is really cool. You can actually use your leftover Lego stickers to make a hinge. All you have to do is find a long enough sticker like this, and you can put it on the back of two pieces. Kind of helps if you maybe have a third brick to align it. And then if you take off your sticker and put it right across those pieces like that, you now have a perfectly valid Lego hinge. I don't really know what you can use this for, but if you want to make it stronger, you flip this guy over like this, and you add a smaller piece to the other side, like this. Now you have a really strong Lego hinging mechanism you can integrate into your builds that doesn't take up any extra space. Plus, you're not cheating or doing anything illegal because Lego makes these stickers and they already put them on the pieces in their sets. So this is pretty cool. What can you do with this? To be determined. I just discovered this one, so I'll probably be using it more often. But before I show you the next one, I want to introduce you to my newest invention. This is Stud Measure, the new tool for Lego builders that lets you measure and plan your creations with ease. Its flexible, two-sided tape can measure in both bricks and studs. All you have to do is just snap the Lego compatible end piece down horizontally to measure in studs, or flip the tape over and click it down vertically to measure in bricks. With the maximum measuring distance of up to 190 studs, or on the flip side, 158 bricks in height. That's higher than the tallest Lego set. And the best part about it is it's retractable. I've been designing and building crazy Lego creations for years, and I've always wished there was a better way to measure in Lego metrics without counting all the studs. You guys have probably actually seen me use this guy. This is just a Lego ruler I built. It's got studs on one side and bricks on the other. The problem is it only measures up to 64 studs. So I came up with this, and after nearly 2 years of development and a bunch of failed attempts, it's finally available for you guys to purchase. But we only have 5,000 of these available for the first launch. And guys, the first 100 people to order a stud measure are going to get a signed card with it. So click the link down in the description or go to studmeasure.shop to get yours today. There's more coming, but I don't know how well these will do, so just get yours ASAP. For the next trick, you're gonna wanna grab your bin of Lego cheese slips. And we're gonna pick out as many of these little clear colored ones as we can find here. And see, the cool thing you can do with this, if you just built up a simple frame using some plates and tiles, and then to get rid of these studs here and make it completely flat, we'll add a tile right in the middle. You can now make a stained glass mosaic using a bunch of cheese slips to create really whatever kind of design you want. We're gonna go for like a stained glass window look. The trick just comes from realizing if you take two of them back to back, it kind of makes a square. And that square is exactly one stud by one stud, as you can see. So first I'm gonna build out the corners of these with clear pieces, and then we can make a really cool design for the inside. We have our first layer. Now for the next one, we can integrate some blue and kind of just build up whatever design you want. This is a very advanced Lego technique, not to be done by beginners. And then, you put a tile or something right on top. And there we have our mosaic. That took me like 20 minutes, actually. That was really hard. It makes a cool floor pattern for your builds, but don't turn it upside down because these will all come flying out. That was actually pretty advanced. On to the next one. The next trick involves using these little guys, which are called gear racks. And the nice thing about gear racks is you can actually use them to create pushing and pulling motions as long as you have a gear. So what we can do is we can actually add a few of these to a plate like this and create a little sliding mechanism. We're gonna use a tile like this and put it on a couple 2x3 plates. If we build up a couple bricks on the back and add a Technic brick, we can thread through a Lego gear on an axle here. And that is actually the perfect height to allow our little gear rack to slide right under and turn the gear. For example, what I did with this is built this guy. This is the faux hammer, and it's actually a mechanism that uses gear racks as a counterweight. Here, I've got them lined up so that when I spin this hammer forward, it actually pushes these big heavy weights back and acts as a counterweight. On to the next one. The next trick is actually one I use every time I build a new Lego set. And I've been using this one for years. And that is simply taking the box and putting it on the side of the table like this. You keep your full bags on one side of the table, and then after you empty out your bag like this, spill it all over the floor, you simply put it back in the box. It literally saves so much mess, and now, as I open up my bags and pour them out on the table, I have a nice place to put my trash. If you're one of those people who keeps the Lego boxes after too, you have all the bags and the instructions in it, because once you're done with that, that goes right back in the box, and then you can throw it away. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. This one's pretty straightforward, but I use it all the time. Otherwise, you got plastic all over the table, and it just makes building a really miserable experience. This next one is really cool because you can actually stack Lego glass panels together to create a fog effect. The more of these we stack end to end, the less clear it becomes when you're looking through it. And so if we first build up a little shadow box out of black bricks, we can create a little diorama here, and then just literally start adding as many of these Lego glass pieces as you can find. And you'll see it'll be getting less and less clear towards the top. Check it out, each one of these you add just makes it a little bit foggier. You can get a lot of depth out of this. And then one of my favorite tricks is if we put one of these inside out like this, we can put a minifigure on the inside. And now you can create the guy's reflection standing at the top of it. That actually looks really cool. So that's just kind of a fun way to get some extra detail in your builds. On to the next one. This next trick actually lets you take 3D models and turn them into pixelated designs that you can actually build out of bricks. So all you have to do is go to tinkercad.com, not sponsored or anything, they're just really cool. I've actually used this a few times on the channel to build like a dinosaur head, a pillow, and that dragon I made that actually breathed smoke fire. That was pretty cool. So first you take whatever STL file you want to convert into Lego, upload it to Tinkercad. While this is loading, guys, I just want to quick say, I've been having some really bad migraines, which is making it really, really hard to make videos. But I'm still making them. I got my sunglasses, I got some special contact lenses coming, so hopefully that'll help. Still here doing it. Pray for me. Look at this, we have this model of a lizard that's loaded up in Tinkercad, and all we have to do to turn it into Lego is click on this little brick up at the top corner. Once we click that, it'll convert it into Lego pieces, and it actually has 3 different sizes you can choose from. Now, there are some drawbacks to using this program. It is nice because you can view each layer individually, but then some of the pieces don't connect, so you gotta kind of use common sense. It just kind of makes it helpful to get a basic idea for how to connect things and build up your shape. The next tip is for building anything that slides. There's actually several ways to do that. I used to just load up a plate with some tiles like this, kind of back to back, and then you'd have your sliding function, whatever it is, and it would just constantly get stuck on these grooves, like right there. And then I realized the way to make it so it doesn't do that is by just offsetting each one of the tiles so that it constantly has a smooth surface to slide on, like this. So if we offset each of those, kind of like the running bond pattern, as you can see, this will slide smoothly no matter what. So whatever you build on top of that won't get stuck. Another trick for sliding mechanisms is to use these pieces, and this is just like a 1x8 with a groove. You can actually use these pieces to create a pretty cool sliding mechanism just by clicking them down on some plates. And since they have that little gap in the middle, we can use these cool pieces from earlier and make something that slides forward and backwards. You can integrate this into walls, or you can do like a little sliding door or something. And speaking of sliding doors, if we use the other variation of this piece, which has like a little gap like this, we can snap on a few of these glass windows and create a sliding door just by snapping one inside this groove and the other one on top like that. Now we have a sliding glass door. I don't know what you really call these pieces, but they're pretty cool, and there's a few cool tricks you can use in your builds. Guys, real quick, before the next one, make sure you guys subscribe so you can become members of the Brick Science Stud Army. Because we upload Lego videos for the whole family every couple weeks, and they're pretty good, so you don't want to miss them. The next trick is actually building sideways using snot bricks, and there's a specific way you have to do it so that the plates actually line up with the bricks. All you do, you take your snot bricks, right, and you snap them on top of that like so. The problem is if you want to build further up on the side, you can't just put 2 more snot bricks and then put something over it because the studs don't exactly line up. So what you gotta do is add 2 layers of plates because that creates the perfect width, and then now you can add something like a brick to the top of this and it snaps in perfectly like that. 2 plates is the perfect distance between both of those snot bricks so you can build on top of it like so. But say you need to bridge a larger gap on your wall. Well, instead of 2 plates, you can actually just take 4 bricks like this and stack that between your snot bricks, and that is also the perfect distance to allow you to place a larger plate on the side. And this technique works the same way with Technic bricks, just stacking them in between like this. Now check us out. We can line all those up and snap on our Technic piece like that to certify all these pieces. The next level is actually a lot cooler. You can actually use headlight bricks and snot bricks to create a really cool gradient. The difference between a headlight brick and a snot brick is that the headlight brick actually has an inset stud that goes back a half plate on the front, which means when we put these side by side, the studs don't exactly line up. So we can actually use that to our advantage to create a bit of a sideways gradient here. So if we start with our headlight brick, like so, we're gonna put 2 plates on top of that, right on the front. Then we can add our regular snot brick with 1 plate. And as you can see, it's already gonna create a half stud difference between this piece and this piece here on the side. Then if we go back to a headlight brick and add a single plate, then just a regular snot brick and a regular headlight brick, we have this beautiful gradient going on here. And the nice thing about this is it's actually repeatable. So you can do this one more time on the back here and kind of extend the gradient. Check it out, it's like a perfect slope. So that's kind of cool. You can use the difference in that half plate between the snot bricks and headlight bricks to make some nice slopes and shapes. On to the next one. The next Lego trick is actually building gear ratios. And it's actually a lot simpler than you think. You start with a Technic brick. And this is just a regular Lego brick that has holes inside of it. Then you're gonna take a either large or small gear in an axle and shove that into the Technic brick like so. And the purpose of a gear ratio is to actually make your drive gear, which is now what we have here, spin at a different rate than your follower gear. And for that, we can use a tiny little gear like this and put it right next to the drive gear. Now, as you can see, when we spin one, it spins the other. And since the small gear only has 8 teeth, whereas this one has like 40, our follower gear is gonna be spinning 5 times faster for every rotation of the large one. And you can see that if I add a little crank to this one here, just how much faster that's spinning, whereas I'm only spinning our drive gear a little bit. Now there's a lot more that goes into gear ratios and how to actually calculate them. For example, to slow down your output, you would spin the smaller gear, and to speed up your output, you would just spin the drive gear. So there's a nice easy trick for building gear ratios. And for my next trick, we're gonna bring out the bin of leaves. This one's actually pretty cool. The best way I found to do this is to kind of point them towards you like arrows, and then slide them together like this, and bend it over, just like that. That'll give you a pretty strong connection and a bit of versatility in terms of flexibility. I don't really use this technique very often, but it does allow you to kind of work around the studs that are on the pieces and create some pretty unique shapes. There's a little pocket on the back between these two pieces, and that's the piece that works best if you just put it in and then twist, just like that. Okay, so not gonna lie, this technique's actually a little bit hard to master, but that's why it's so high up on the list. We can actually do a lot with this technique, right? Because you can create different shapes to make it look more natural. That's actually super cool. So I'm discovering it as I'm going here. But check it out. Look, we've created this cool thing. And then if you just keep going with that in like a circle, you can create something like this. And we can connect that to the last piece to make a little bowl. Now actually though, this is pretty cool. As you can see, we've built a little bowl or a very big tree. And you can create some pretty cool, more organic shapes. But just bend at your own risk, because really at this point, I have no idea how much this will damage. If you're building like a spaceship or sci-fi interior, instead of building regular boring walls with just different colored bricks, you can actually integrate some of these cool stud shooters. The main purpose LEGO makes these things for is actually shooting these pieces like this. But what makes them so cool is that they're double molded, so you get this cool little ridge line. So if we take our boring wall like this and kind of integrate those into it, we can actually get a pretty cool pattern for the walls. Boom, there we go. Check it out. Tell me that doesn't look a little bit more futuristic with all those angular lines. Because this is honestly just kind of boring. This is a very advanced trick that I actually learned from a YouTuber called Nick Brick. Actually, when I first started YouTube, this is basically what I was doing. I was recreating shapes of like movie props like Iron Man's helmet or Thanos' glove using this technique. And I call it polytexture because you actually take wedge plates and these little slopes right here, and you connect them together in such a way to make basically any shape you want. For example, if I take these two clips like this, and we add a plate to one side and a plate to the other, you can see we can now connect two tiles to the top of this, and instead of having just a flat shape, we can bend it a little like so. Now there's a few problems with this. The first of which is that it creates this nice little gap, which doesn't really look the best. And the second of which is that, I guess that's the only problem with this, but we can fix that really easily. All we have to do is take off one of the plates and replace it with two jumper plates. And now that actually allows us to push in our tile just a little bit, and we can close that gap and get a pretty similar angle, just like so. So you can use this to create round shapes or whatever. The other cool thing is if you actually replace the hinges on the bottom with mixel joints, which are a lot more flexible at different angles, we can use a wedge plate and actually create an angled connection like so, which is really, really cool. And that actually adds a lot of versatility to this technique. Because now, for example, if we do this, we can create a rounded shape by just kind of continuing this in a circle. Let me show you an example of how you can actually use this. This is a LEGO Iron Man helmet I built a few years ago, and as you can see, it uses basically the same exact technique. So I kind of designed it with all these panels to come together on the front using that polytexture technique, and it looks just like the Iron Man faceplate. And then if you look at the back of it, you can see how hard I worked. So it's a very high level technique, but if mastered correctly, you can do a lot with this and create some really cool builds. But it's nothing like the next one, which adds another layer of versatility to LEGO. And finally, our level 100 LEGO trick. And for this one, all you need is a LEGO net. And then some of these little underside boat pieces like this. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take 4 of these little studs and put them on the bottom of your tile. And we're gonna actually create a flexible surface here, just like that. And now the cool thing about this is if we take this net, we can actually create a grid of little pieces and lock them together with these boat pieces on the bottom to create a flexible LEGO surface. So you can use a tile on top or a 2x2 plate, but we're gonna build 36 of those total and then lay the net on top to actually finish out the shape here. So you can see I've created a little pattern here and it's upside down. And the reason for that is we can just take our net and slowly put it right on top of there so that it locks into all those pieces. And then we just take our little boat pieces like this and snap them into the corners to lock everything together. I like to do the outside first because it helps kind of lock in the center pieces. Otherwise, it all just kind of flies everywhere. But once we put on all these little boat pieces, we should have a flexible piece of LEGO fabric that we can actually build stuff out of. And check it out. All we do is lift this up and we have a flexible piece of LEGO fabric. Check that out. Look at how cool that is. And the reason we use these little boat pieces on the bottom is because if we use plates or tiles like we did on the top, we wouldn't be able to actually flex it. And these pieces are just a little shorter than a plate, so it lets you kind of move it around. Now there's several ways you can actually integrate this into your builds that I've done, like this Lego pillow that I made. And the cool thing about this is it actually has a Lego blanket on the inside, so it's really flexible. I actually slept on this overnight in my Lego room video, and honestly it was way better than it would be just sleeping on bricks, but it made it just flexible enough so that I could lay my head on it, which I'll do right now. It is a flexible Lego pillow, and oh man, I forgot just how comfortable this thing is. It's like just flexible enough to pinch every single hair on your head at the same time. It's actually really cool that you can combine the little nets to make different 3D shapes and just fill it with the Lego brand blanket to actually make it still Lego. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Huge thanks for watching. Check out one of these two videos, pop it up on your screen, because I think you'll enjoy them. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if there's any tricks I missed or any of your favorite Lego tricks. And I'll talk to you in the next Brick Science. See ya.